Thank you. Question about the timing of the application. The presentation said it takes 6 weeks to get the results from the exam. Do we have to wait 6 weeks to find out if you pass before you apply for a position?
You know, Shauna covered that for a moment, but there are exams where it may take 6 weeks to grade, but the classifications, which we've spoken on today, will give you a result immediately, and your results will post within a day. And so they put all of the exams online, so you don't have to wait anymore. You're not going to go home and wait for a paper exam to arrive in your mailbox anymore. It's going to be within a day. You're going to get your results, and we will be able to see those immediately. They just changed the supervising oil and gas engineer recently, and it is now online. The question, Shauna, is do you have to wait 6 weeks for your results?
The only written exam that we have currently is for the seismological instrument technicians 1 and 2. So in order to apply for the exam and go through the process, yes, you'd have to wait for your results for those 2 classifications. Everything else that's online, you'll get them immediately, and you apply once you take the exam.
Now, Shauna, I had someone indicate that they took a senior test and that they couldn't get to an exam on for the other EG and associate. If they should be able to take exams for all the different positions. Is that correct?
Everything we've talked about today, yes. There are times when the jobs website will go down, and unfortunately we have no control over that because that is our control agency. If they have problems, have them please email me and I'll look into it. We might not always know that an exam goes down. But they have been active since, I believe, 2014 for the supervising oil and gas and the associate oil and gas.
I'll expand on that. You should be able to take the engineering geologist if you qualify, as well as the associate, as well as the senior, specialist, and supervisor. And we encourage you to take every exam for which you qualify for, because we may have multiple openings for many different classifications. So take all of the exams for which you qualify and have interest in.
I have 2 questions. The first is, I first took these exams more than a year ago, so now that they've been removed from my list eligibility on my account, and I'm going to have to write them again, and I'm wondering if they've changed. Have the questions changed?
Shauna, would you like to speak to that, just so I am certain? Which classification are you referring to?
Senior oil and gas engineer, associate oil and gas engineer. I originally took these exams more than a year ago.
Shauna, has the associate or the senior changed? Someone needs to take the exam again. They've expired.
No, the questions have not changed since 2014.
Okay, and there's an additional piece of documentation you require. I noticed that, I believe it was in Santa Barbara. They're asking for a statement of qualifications, which is a typewritten basically a composition of how you are qualified for these positions. I was wondering if you could give us some more details on what exactly you're looking for.
Oh, well, it depends. Each of the applications or the positions that I posted does have a statement of qualifications. It's to as supervisors, we have to set up a criteria before the positions are posted about what we're looking for, and this is just another tool to help be able to figure out which of the candidates are best suited for the interview process. As you can imagine, I once sat on a panel, there were over 70 applicants. And so, you know, if we had had the statement of qualifications then, we might have been able to narrow that list down so that we didn't have to go for several weeks interviewing. And so really it's another tool that we're using to be able to get the best, most qualified candidates to interview and improve our chances of being more efficient with our time. As you can imagine, as managers, we've got a lot on our plate, and yet we want to participate in that hiring process to make sure that we're building the best staff that we can. So that is a new component that I have added, and I'm glad that you saw that because I was worried that maybe people might not notice that. And it is important. Your application could be rejected if you don't have that component. I also want to say as a note that I've got both of the positions being posted, and so you might say, well, I want to be an associate, and it's in the Coastal District, and I want to be on Pat's team, and so, it doesn't matter to me if I go to Orcutt or Ventura. She's great anyway, so I just go anywhere. And it's Coast, how could you beat that? So I want to tell you that because those positions are located in different counties, Ventura County and Santa Barbara County, you will have to file separate applications. So if you don't care if you're going to be an associate in Ventura or Orcutt, you still have to do an application for Orcutt and one for Ventura. And then when you show up, I'm trying to rig this so I only have one interview, because you don't want to have to sit through and dress up and get your stuff all ready, sweaty palms and everything that goes through the interview process. You don't want to do that multiple times, and I don't want to either. And so what we'll be doing is have you rate, if you sign up for both Orcutt and Ventura to be an EG, then you're going to tell me, hey, I'd like to go to Orcutt first and Ventura second, or, I want to go to vice versa, so that if you score high enough, then as the interview panel discusses the placement of the different positions and who would like to offer jobs to, we'll take that into consideration. So you bet the important takeaway there is you have to file the 2 applications. Sorry about that. I couldn't get that eliminated. We're not combining Ventura and Santa Barbara County into one big county, so do file 2 applications.
Are all the districts asking for this statement of qualifications, or just yours?
It depends on the hiring manager and how they set up the exercises. That's correct.
Oh, I was looking at this. It's saying a minimum 5 years experience. Are you really looking more for younger engineers, for like the senior oil and gas engineer, or what is there? What's your criteria for senior oil and gas?
Shauna, maybe you can speak to that after I give a brief statement here. But minimum just means that to enter the exam and to qualify to take the exam, you must have 5 years. And so any experience above that will be considered when we screen the applications and review the statements of qualifications as well. But no, certainly more experience, it would not prohibit us from hiring.
Are you preferring more experience, like 30 years versus 10 years?
I think the answer to that is more about what the experience is than how many you have, right? So for a senior level position, supervising oil and gas engineer, for instance, so like Don's level, I mean, how many years do you have?
About 35.
Yeah, so Don came in with 35 years. Rod, how many years do you have? 39. And Rod, we just hired Rod. Where's Stephanie? How many years do you have coming in? Yeah, so it runs a spectrum, and it's more a function of who you are, what you've done, and how does that map into the job. So that's what we're looking for, is somebody to slot into these positions and help us.
If you want to be out in the field, I loved it. There are some days I wouldn't mind being an EG again. We are electrifying over at the coast, let me tell you.
There's a question that has come in from our Skype. What would we call them? Participants. Thank you, Pat, that have joined us, and they're stating that as they're at their computer, they're visiting the CalHR website, and they're not seeing the EG exam. And Shauna, you can chime in here, but we do share this exam with the Department of Water Resources. It is a sister department, and so this is a shared exam. And so when you visit the exam and you do go to the exam, you're going to see the Department of Conservation's logo as well as the Department of Water Resources, because we do share the exam. There is an expense that we pay the state of California to have the exam, and so when it is convenient, we do try to come together. So that is correct. It is the Department of Water Resources
The question I have
exam.
is, what if you do take the exam and you don't rank high enough? Are you still eligible to be called in for an interview, or do you have to wait till you somehow climb the ranks or get more experience to retake the exam? How does that work?
So in order to be reachable, you have to be in the top 3 ranks. However, we can go ahead and clear ranks. Some people don't want to work in Bakersfield, some people don't want to work in Orcutt, and they'll actually select themselves off the list. So depending on the area and how you set up your profile, we may be able to reach you even if you're in the 4th or 5th rank. That being said, the retake period for exams depends. I'm looking at the engineering geologist that we have bought into with Water Resources, and your eligibility expires in 12 months, but you can retake it in 6 months. So you can always apply. We always say apply for everything because you never know. However, if there are other people that have applied to have the top 3 ranks, which we have to look at first, then no, you won't be competitive at that time. However, you can retake the exam in 6 months, and just remember to use all of your experience, all of your education and training to be able to answer the questions and rank higher.
We do have a Skype question. This came from Andrew. And Andrew is asking, can you list the procedures needed for the desired documents? And to me, when I look at that, Andrew, I encourage you and all of those on Skype to visit our website. I announced it early on, conservation.ca.gov. Go to the jobs link on the right-hand side, and I posted 4 documents, and it will walk you through the steps. I do want to remind you, each individual recruitment may have different requirements, and so you need to read that bulletin and the recruitment criteria that specific job being flown is asking for. And so there may be different requirements for each vacancy.
And I did want to point out, if you guys can hear me, the engineering geologist exam you want to take is 9PBO2. We have to use that one. We can't borrow lists from other people. So you can take all 3 exams. We recommend taking all the exams. However, the only one that we can actually pull from is the 9PBO2 that we share with Water Resources.
Shauna, could you please repeat the number of that exam a little more slowly? It was hard to get all the letters correct.
Of course. The exam code will be 9PBO2.
It's 9PDO2, right?
9P is in Paul, B is in boy, O2.
Thank you. Michael.
So with respect...
No, it's fine. Thank you, Shauna.
With respect to references, at what point in the process do you require them, and at what point do you contact them? What I'm trying to avoid is calling my references and telling them to expect a call 6 weeks before you'd actually be interested in contacting them.
I understand. So we don't ask for it during the application process. So if you do make an interview, when we call and we invite you to an interview, we're going to ask that you bring a few documents. One of those may be a copy of your degree or transcripts, a California driver's license in some instances, as well as a list of the references. So that won't be required unless you do get an interview.
Perfect. Thank you.
And just to add on that, for instance, I don't call the references for all the people that I interview. It's only if you're a desired candidate that I think that I'm going to be extending the job offer to, I will call your references. And typically I will call you to let you know that I am contacting your references as a courtesy.
So we got some more Skype questions here. So from Andrew Deep. Andrew asks, will your organization be in LA County for outreach or workshop seminars? Andrew, I'm not aware that there's a plan to do that. We put this one together for all of the districts today, but Dan may have different ideas. I don't know if he's planning. I'm not aware of a plan to be in Los Angeles. Are there any other questions from the audience? Yes, please.
Somebody mentioned the top 3 ranking. What is that, and how do you know if you are in that after you take the exam?
Shauna, can you answer that question? It was a question about getting in the top 3 ranking, and how do you know if you're in it?
When you get your results, it will show you a percentage. There's 95, 90, 85, 80, 75, 70 is our typical rank structure. The top 3 ranks are going to be your 95, 90, and 85. Those are the ones we have to pull from first.
And of course, if there's nobody at 95, then if there's nobody at 95, then they go down to the 90, 85, and 80. So it really depends on clearing out those ranks.
Well, moving the mic, let me ask, there's another question from Skype from Nancy. So Nancy wants to know, can an EG become a supervisor? I'm going to let Janelle answer that question. Can you give her a microphone?
Yes, I was an energy and mineral resources engineer for about 6 years. LA office, the Orcutt office, the Kalinga office, and then I came to Bakersfield. I was associate for about a week before they offered me the senior oil and gas position to run 34 oil fields in Kern County.
So Nancy, the answer is a resounding yes.
I just wanted to make a comment, if you, and it might be helpful for folks out there that are going to take these exams. Each response is limited to 500 characters, and that includes spaces. So it would be helpful for everybody when you're considering your answers to these questions before you actually sit down and give them, is to make sure that you've got everything in concise manner as possible. Count out the characters, because it's going to save you pulling out your hair and trying to find other smaller words to put in there, because you're 510 characters and not 500.
So many applicants choose to compile their answers using Word first, so you can count the characters, then you can copy and paste into the exam.
It's helpful.
The Skype guys can't hear you without the microphone.
I'm assuming that you can get a copy of the test and formulate your answers,
That's
and then
correct.
actually take the test.
That's correct. You can view the test before taking the exam.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm also assuming that the test, it's not a technical test, it's more a test of your experience.
Yes, it's more qualifications based. Okay. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are the instructions on how to get these tests beforehand, have you included them here?
You know, if you hand that microphone to the guy right behind you, he can answer that in a lot of detail because he just did it.
So a lot of the information, the sheet, Amanda, if you could hold that back up, she's got a web sheet that has it, and it's also on the website with actual links to it. When you open the exams, what I've told people is, especially those that are using the education, because it asks what courses you've taken. So some of the questions, if you don't have say 5 years experience, but you're going to substitute education, you want to have transcripts so you can actually remember those courses. But a lot of it, again, is just more of a qualification standpoint, such as, you know, have you performed this task for over 4 years? Can you explain, you know, with some reasoning? So you're really just kind of answering the questions as to what you've done to satisfy that requirement, not kind of, you know, do a 3-point problem like an engineer would do. So hopefully that helps.
Okay. Also, something to note is if you take too long, the exam can time out on you. So doing everything in Word beforehand is very important. Because if it times out, then you can't retake it again till after the 1-year timeline.
The last bit of information is when you actually go to the application for the job that you're applying for, remember a lot of the applications are going to be similar, but you can't save the PDFs. So what you also want to do is use Word so you can put it in there, because if you're filling out, say, 3 EG positions for 3 different offices, you have to supply 3 separate applications. And that's one thing about the process, is that the application won't save as a PDF with your information, so you can just take that, copy it, and send it to 3 different positions. So.
If I can chime in?
Yes, ma'am.
The CalCareer account, you put all of your experience, education, all of that into your CalCareer account, and it will print out your full application for you now. They've updated that in the last 6 months or so. So if you have a CalCareer account, just keep it updated, and you'll be able to print out without having to
Perfect. I wish that was a year ago.
Okay, so I'm ready to give out a book. And so one of the great things about the coastal district is, remember, we've got that ocean environment. We've got an island. We also have that platform. Can anybody tell me what the name of that platform is? You can get the next one. I know.
Really quick, I want to revisit. Andrew mentioned recruitment in LA County. And Andrew, I would like for you to reach out to Nicole. She is in our Cypress office. She is an analyst who can give you some one-on-one assistance. If you are not successful that way, please feel free to reach out to our HR department in Sacramento, and their contact information is on our jobs page on conservation.ca.gov. I do have one question from Osman from Skype, stating that he is in Europe and wants to know if he can apply for positions. And so it depends. There's a lot of variances there, and so I don't want to answer this without having the details. And so I'm going to request that you send your information over to that email box so that we know all the specifics about your residency.
I do also want to say that, we're using Skype today. It's a great, technology. It's a great way to disseminate information to people that are all across the country. And, I laughed and said, I hardly know how to turn my computer on, but we used it in our last interview process for our senior oil and gas engineer, and the gentleman was actually in Scotland at the time. We did the interview. We did, Aduka, she was in Canada. We did another guy in Michigan, so I was all across the country there. So Amanda touched on the I-9 form that needs to be completed for employment with the state. But I also want to say on the interview process, you don't necessarily have to come to our office. We want to be convenient. We're there to help. We've had people where they interviewed early in the morning because they're East Coast time. We try to be really agreeable, flexible on that as best we can through the interview process. So if you can come, that's great. But I found that because I was a little skeptical, I was worried that maybe the person would be at the disadvantage, and they weren't. They actually got the job from the one from Scotland. So I just wanted to pass that along.
Rod, who's in the back of the room in the blue coat, we interviewed him from, as I recall, a Starbucks. That is correct. A Starbucks in Denver. Question in the audience.
I do. Thank you. I'm wondering, for the salary range for the engineering geologist, is that going to be the same starting salary for everybody in their first year, or are there other factors that play into that?
There's different qualifications, so it depends. If you have a professional license, if you're a PG, we do offer range D. If you have a master's, you come in at range C, and those pays do vary. But if just based on experience, I'll let Shauna speak to that. Shauna? Ranges for new hires.
For the most part, you do come in at the starting. However, it really is based on your experience level, whether you currently have a job, if the classification is hard to recruit for, and the license. You can always send your personal information to the HR recruitment email, and we can work with you to see where you would fall in that range. But it's so specific to the person in these cases, or the allocation guidelines, that we really would have to review your information to be able to determine if you would reach a higher pay.
There is always the opportunity to discuss that with the hiring supervisor, and there is some processes that we can go through if we need to negotiate a potential different thing. But you have to provide W-2s and a lot of information in order to explore that.
So we have another question over here. Okay.
When you're applying for an EG,
does it help to have a GIT or have passed the FG exam? Does that make any difference?
It doesn't make a difference in the minimum qualifications. It certainly helps when we go through and we start screening these based on the criteria, but it also helps you in the interview. So if you're impressive and you make it into an interview, that is a desirable qualification that we would look at and you would stand out.
So we have another Skype question here. But first, let's give away another book. So who knows, let's say to the nearest 10,000, how many wells are in the Kern River field? You guys don't count. To the nearest 10,000, yes. The point of that question was it's a big field. So we have a question from Chris Smart via Skype, and Chris would like to know if there is any help with relocation.
The state of California pays relocation if you're going to take a promotion within the state of California. So you are already employed and you have been an employee with us for some time and you decide to take a promotion, we would negotiate some assistance in relocating. But when you're new to the state, we do not offer that benefit. Shauna, do you have a clarification to my answer?
There's a lot of factors that go into the relocation, including bargaining units, the hard to recruit classification. So really is that, again, is an individual basis. We'd have to go in and look at the position, whether or not they offer relocation, what the type of position is. As you said, you have to currently be a state employee to get that benefit. But there are benefits once you are a state employee. It's just dependent.
Thank you.
So Pat's got one more book to give away, but before we do that, if we're done with the questions out in the public here, what we want to do is have a chance to chat. So what I'd like to do is have all of the DOGGR employees just stand up and say your name and what you do. So if you have some particular area that you're interested in talking to, we'll start with Mike over there.
My name is DK Nath. I'm in the Associate Oil and Gas Engineer over in Northern District. We do a lot of petrophysics. We do look at a lot of aquifer exemption. We do a lot of gas storage plant, MIT evaluations, a lot of technical stuff. And I'll be glad to answer if you have any questions.
My name is Imad Abdullahi. I work here in Land District, Associate Oil and Gas Engineer. I work in central area, which is Elk Hill, Simric, McKittrick. I work in aquifer exemptions, permitting UIC projects. So I'm welcome. If you have any question, we can answer.
I'm Rod Geis. I'm an associate oil and gas engineer in the valley portion of the Inland District here in Bakersfield. And if you can find beauty in Bakersfield, you can find it anywhere, I'm going to tell you. So anyway, I do permitting, aquifer exemption stuff, UIC stuff. We have helped a number of operators with some difficult situations, and I feel pretty good about it. So I'm here to answer your questions if I can.
Cameron Campbell. I'm a senior overseeing the north area and Midway Sunset in the southwest portion of the Inland District. I've been with the DOGGR for about 6 months. Formerly did the tour with Chevron.
My name's Don Nelson, and I'm a supervising oil and gas engineer overseeing the 6 areas in Inland District. And I joined DOGGR last June, so I've been here about 7 months.
I'm Adako Adeleye. I'm an associate oil and gas engineer with the Valley team. So I do permittings and UIC project evaluations. And I also came from the industry. I started in November. So if you have any questions, feel free.
I'm Gene Mollenmeister. I'm a field engineer, engineering geologist. I've also worked on special assignments in the office on aquifer exemptions, reviewing UIC permit applications, project applications, I'd also like to say, if you're a veteran, you do get preference on the exams for if you're a disabled veteran. And if you have military service, you can purchase credits towards retirement. So that's a little bit of extra incentive for veterans.
My name's Janelle Chamberlain. I'm the senior oil and gas engineer for the Valley area, and I'd like to point out that if you have student loan debt, that there is a program that if you are a civil service employee, after your 120 qualifying payments, the government will write off the rest of your loans, and mine are about to be written off this year.
Yay.
Thank you.
Renan Angano, senior oil and gas engineer for the east side, overseeing Kern River, Round Mountain, Mount Poso. Data analytics, machine learning. If you guys are interested in talking about how the division's trying to implement this brand new technology, come chat with me and probably have a good time. Thanks.
I'm John Iverson, senior and oil gas engineer out of the Orcutt office for the Coastal District. I've been lucky enough to have my career with the division since 2009 in that office, and I've worked from the field engineer to associate to senior. So I've gotten to see all the positions, and I spent 6 years in industry here in Bakersfield and grew up in Montana, so I've been able to get to see a bit of the country, but a lot of oil fields, and also worked offshore Gulf of Mexico.
All right, thanks, guys. I just want to make sure we missed somebody. Oh, Stephanie, don't be shy.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Tilquist, engineering geologist. I've been here for about a year now. Like I said, I didn't have experience before I came to the division other than coal exploration in Australia, so that's my background. But I love it at the division, and I welcome everyone to apply. It's great.
Hi, everybody. I'm David Kong, and I'm an engineering geologist. I started 2 months ago, and yeah, welcome, everybody.
So if you're sitting here and you think to yourself, I don't fit as an EG, I don't fit as an associate, I don't fit as a senior or a super, if there's anyone here that wants to talk to me and you don't fit into those categories, I'll stay behind and answer any questions about general classifications, IT-related, administrative. Any of you that don't fit into the 4 that we've discussed in depth, maybe I can find an area you're better suited for. I'm Amanda Parks.
Hi, I'm Asia Newsom. I'm a data technician with the department, and you all RSVP'd with me.
I do have one last question. It was Osman again from Europe who had a specific question. And again, without knowing the specifics of your situation, I really can't answer that. And so please visit our website, go to our jobs link, and reach out to us, contact us, and give us more specifics so that we can get your question to the right person, the right specialist, so we have all the facts before we can give you an answer. Okay?
Okay, well, if there's no more, are there any more questions? So if there's no more questions, I want to again say thank you very much for coming through the winter days. The wind's still blowing a little bit, but it looks like the sun's maybe coming out too. So we'll be here to chat to anybody who wants to stick around and talk, just kind of informally on if you have any other questions. Oh, and I'm sorry, Pat has another book to give away. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. You know, over here in the Inland District, they're known for the Lakeview Gusher. Is that correct? Put you on the map over here. So we have one over on the coast. Can anybody name the fond name for our blowout in about, 1901 or so? Anybody? That was too hard? Okay, well, what was the, we just did an aquifer exemption hearing over on the coast. Can anybody tell me what that aquifer exemption, what it covered, what fields? If you can give me both fields, you can get the book, and please raise your hand. And what was the second field? Bonk. Okay, anybody else? No, it was anybody? Or it was San Ardo and McCool Ranch. So Jim, and the surrounding area included part of the county. All right. So I guess that completes our thing, but we are here today to answer your questions. We're here to be able to say, I know I can. I love my job. It's the best thing I ever did. Being out in the field, being able to work with operators, being able to work with the community, and I just love my job. And I mean, I feel like it just started yesterday. People say, when are you going to retire? And I'm thinking, aren't I too young to retire? I'm 35, aren't I? So, it's a great place to come to work. The state has been good to me. I know it'll be good for you too. And I know the coast, we've got those positions on the website. I know Inland's going to have some, Southern, our headquarters with special units. You have talents, and we need that talent, so come and join our team. So we're here. Ask questions. Don't hesitate. We don't bite. We're here for you. We want to help any way we can. Thank you. And be safe.